All right. Well, welcome to another episode of the Biohacker Blondie Podcast. I am so excited for this episode because we're going to get all into reproductive organs with stem cells to restore ovarian function. And we're here with Zach, and you are the founder of Austin Biotech, and you developed this procedure to restore our reproductive organs. So I could not be more excited. We're here on Valentine's Day talking about this.
Day, isn't it? Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Hallmark holiday.
I could not be more excited. So welcome.
Thank you.
And if you can give an introduction and what inspired you to create Austin Biotech.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. My name's Zach Varkaris. I'm the founder of Austin Biotech, and we have created a procedure called Rejuvisite, which stands for rejuvenating your cells. And it is about rejuvenating ovaries or reproductive organs to extend your life, right? Or extend the quality of your life rather than just extending your life. Obviously, it has an upside as well of having children at a later date, but that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that we have created this procedure. And a lot of people ask me, actually, how did you come up with this and how did it happen? Well, basically, it started off, I was in my mid-40s at the time, living an interesting life as a sort of surf bum in the Philippines. And I met my wife in the Philippines, and she got pregnant straight away, like she was 40 years old, bang. And I was like, okay, so she got pregnant. What happened? Yeah, well, it's good eggs. It takes two.
Yes,
takes two,
yes,
right?
For sure.
And I was like, okay, fantastic. And then suddenly I was, oh my God, I've got to find money. I've got a kid. And what am I going to do? And what I discovered was, number one, was that that a lot of people were having issues having children, and the doctors were like, oh, this is unusual. And what's unusual about this? Was ignorance. Although I have a background in biology and molecular biology, etc., I just didn't think about it. Why would you? And often we don't think about these things until it comes onto our plate.
Yeah.
And then at the time I had a job, I was finding a job which I really didn't like. So I thought to myself, I have to find a job that I feel proud about in the morning, that I can look myself in the mirror and go, this is something I believe in, and it making a difference to not just for my family, but for the general world at large. So I combined my skills of biology with the need that I noticed that people had with having issues with children, and discovered menopause. Which obviously scientifically makes sense, but it is the single biggest rate determining step of aging. Because you can imagine it. I'm 45 years old. I've got a kid. I'm thinking in 20 years' time, I'm going to be 65, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm an old man, What am I going to do? I didn't feel old. My wife, Chantal would have been 60, right? So I was like, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? So we looked at it, and, women start to age significantly after menopause. They just do. And as a biologist, it just didn't make sense. Why do we have this?
Yeah.
Because there's only 4 other species that have menopause, and none of the
species.
Well, guess. Just guess.
Monkeys?
Nope.
Whales?
Whales, yes. Okay, but instinctively you go monkeys or primates. You'd think, okay, it would be you're looking at evolution.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually whales, porpoises, which are also killer whales. I think it's elephant seals or elephant walruses or something. All marine mammals. Now, humans are the only primates that exhibit the dive reflex and the hair growth that's like a marine organism. There's this sort of missing link, that we have this marine link. But let's not get into that side, right? Let's forget that for another time. It's conspiracy theory time, right?
2.
But the aliens are coming. Yeah. so basically, there's that situation, and but it didn't make sense to me. And everyone assumes that nature is the right way. But as I say with one of my colleagues, Walter Crompton, he always says nature is the best compromise. It's the last man standing the last person standing is the one. And so menopause might just have been an accident of situation. And then we're
Periods too.
and it leads to, well, no, but then what happens is, this group survived, and then we made it work because we work in small, humans are optimized in a group of, I think, 65 to 100 people units.
Interesting.
It's the optimum size.
Of this.
And so therefore you have the grandmother principle, whereby they produce their children, and then as they age, they can therefore, teach the grandparents teach the children, whilst the parents are out there hunting or gathering, right? The kind of, which makes sense. It's brilliant. Absolutely works.
Yeah.
But we're not in that world anymore.
Yeah.
And we're trying to sort of put a square peg back into a round hole, because fundamentally nature has not caught up with science. Back in the day, you might live to 60 years old.
Yeah.
Right. But, you're having children at 16. Right. Nowadays, 16 is a child. Now, this is the issue. It's like we either go back to being cavemen again, or we have to accept that biology has to catch up with society.
Yeah.
And, we're wearing clothes. We're sitting in artificial light. I mean, where do we draw the line of where we use science and where do we have sort of nature? Exactly. So what inspired me was that, okay, wait a minute, we can make a difference. And so I was up in Washington State at the time, and my daughter had just been born, Katerina had been born, and I was chopping some wood and waiting for whatever I was doing, and some of the cousins of my wife, they were talking about how difficult it was to have children, and they were similar age, well, actually slightly younger, they were in their 40s, and they were talking about PRP, or not PRP, but it's become PRP, but they were talking about ways they could improve their cycles and so on and so forth. And I was just sitting there listening, and I remembered what I did at university and some other things, and I decided to investigate it more. I called up my old friends from university, who are all, biologists and scientists, and mostly women, ironically, as well. And I said, guys, I've got this idea. What do you think? And, a couple of them were like, yeah, absolutely. And then Debs was like, absolutely. This is a great idea. She's the co-founder of the company. Yeah. And basically our team was pulled around from a group of our old college crew, our old university classmates have created Austin Biotech, for want of a better term. Oh, wow. But fundamentally, Debs and myself. And then we grew this and realized that there was a need, and we looked at menopause. And of course, they weren't quite in that stage of menopause yet. Now they are sort of going into it. And what you're discovering is this sense, especially with women, is like this sense of feeling overlooked, of feeling it doesn't, I don't feel
like I can do anything.
Yeah, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, again, this might be taken controversial, but back in the day, you were done at 40, over, game out, right? In 1950, I think the average age of lifespan was 60 years old. Well, the average lifespan now, it's about 80, 77 in the US on average, but it's about 80, right?
Yeah.
So think about that. That is a 33% increase in lifespan.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to university and you're learning whatever you learn, and you're an adult by the time you're 25, 26, but your fertility falls off a cliff at 30.
Yeah.
You're at your peak as a surgeon or a doctor in your 40s and 50s and 60s, just at the moment you're getting brain fog. So from a society point of view, you want to have, the best we can do for our people, your people. So anyway, that's what inspired me. So if I went off there a little bit, sorry.
And so many women are wanting to have kids later because of their career and all these things happening. So I do know a lot of women in their late 30s, early 40s wanting to have kids then. So that's why this is so interesting for people, and also for women who have menopause, because that's another issue. Can you explain how menopause affects longevity?
Great question. And this is something, yes. So we've broken it down into 10 categories fundamentally, but fundamentally what it does is everything about us as a human is passing on our genetics. And when you are fertile, or you have the ability to have children as a woman, the body is designed to be as robust as possible. So these are a few things that people don't realize. Women are immune to cholesterol and arterial plaque, pretty much immune, until they hit menopause. So the minute you start having menopause, you have the ability to get heart disease or arterial plaque grows.
Wow, I did not know that.
So that's why a lot more men die of heart attacks than women at an earlier age. The other thing is bone density. It decreases. Now, bone density is your fundamentals. If you haven't got a frame, what are you going to do? No structure, right? Structural engineer, no structure. no framework. Doesn't matter how good the cladding is, it's falling down the building, right? So bone density goes down. So you have arterial plaque, bone density, muscle mass. So sarcopenia, you lose muscle mass. You have hydration issues, which has a knock-on effect of brain fog, inflammation, stiffness. They all have a knock-on effect, but hydration. And then another one that's huge is, and not really talked about very much, but we measure a lot now, is the energy levels or the mitochondria levels in the body. Now, everyone's talking about mitochondria now, great. But what does that mean?
Yeah.
So your energy levels decrease. Now, how does that affect you? Your
whole body, everything.
Yes, but things like, you've heard about women saying, I have issues sleeping at night, right? Oh, why? It's because I'm stressed. It's actually because your energy systems are not efficient. So when you sleep, you shut down your energy systems. And then when you wake up, you turn them back on again. But if you're efficient, if your energy system's not efficient, read mitochondria.
Yeah.
You can't sort of turn the engine off. And so you're like, oh, and then I get to sleep. And then I wake up.
Mitochondria is dysfunctional.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That is directly related to menopause. Now, menopause has an effect on it. Without spending hours going into all the details, but I mean, ask me questions if you want some details, I can. But
what do you think is it hormones that is what is causing all this? So your hormones are fluctuating. Do you think also it's part of the brain? Because the brain controls so much, and I think too that's a big factor. Or for what you're doing with your reproductive organs, is that also helping with hormones?
Okay. So
lots of questions.
How do you I'm going to ask you a question now. How do you think the brain affects it?
I definitely think the brain controls your hormones, because
Really?
I think even with menopause, isn't that your brain saying, hey, you're at this age, we're going to turn this off or turn this on.
So the hypothalamus, pituitary kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Thymus gland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying it's the brain controls hormones, and the hormones are what controls everything, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. To a point, yes. But what we've discovered and what we've come through this is what we call the 3 laws of longevity, right? And the first law is functioning reproductive organs or reproductive systems are the foundation for extending life.
Yeah.
The third law, and I'm going to come to the second one in a second, but this third law is the body does not act in isolation, or the body's metabolism does not act in isolation.
Yeah.
So what we do is classic, modern society, we have one pill that fixes everything, but it doesn't work that way. It isn't just hormones, is what I'm saying. Hormones will affect your systems, and they may affect inflammation, your moods. But also there's factors of things like actual bone density. Yes, it can be affected by hormones. It's also affected by your nutrition. That's not hormones.
Yeah.
It's affected by the fact that if you don't use it, you lose it. Read exercise. And then you have to orchestrate how you do those exercises, how you eat the food that will affect your emotions, the second law, which is emotions are the markers of aging. So why do people die of a broken heart? Why do people's hair go white overnight or hair fall out after a stressful event? It's an emotional response to something.
Yeah.
So basically it's about reproductive organs, law 1. The second one is emotions. And the third is the body acting in isolation. So yes, hormones is part of it, but it's not all of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and as we know with stem cells, and as you're injecting stem cells, it kind of renews your organs. So it kind of, with stem cells are like the baby of, if you want to explain what stem cells are for anyone who, I've talked about a lot about stem cells, but still so many people, if you can explain stem cells and exosomes and the procedure that you're doing to either reverse menopause or help the reproductive organs.
Okay. Yes. Before I get into that, I want to explain there is no substitute for the basics.
Yes.
Okay.
Agree.
So it's all great with systems, but you have to have your diet and your exercise set up.
Yeah, you cannot be eating Oreos and Doritos. And
no, you
expect
cannot.
To have
and Diet Coke isn't good for you, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, just drink some water.
Yes.
But
mineral water.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. I just wanted to that was my big disclaimer, number one.
Yeah.
But okay, stem cells. So the procedure itself that we do, called Rejuvisite, is to rejuvenate the ovarian function, or the follicles in the ovaries. And those follicles control something called FSH, or follicular stimulating hormone. So as you age, your follicles decrease in effectiveness. So the amount of FSH flowing around the body increases. So when you look at your blood work, your FSH goes up. Right? When you're sort of premenopause, it's very low. It also has knock-on effects to things like estradiol, estrogen. And so what we've determined, working on some of the research that we did before in 2018 on something called PRP, and then working on other scientists' work. Like,
what is PRP?
Platelet-rich plasma. You might know as a vampire facial. It's called a vampire facial now, to those in the know.
So they were injecting that initially?
Initially, what happened was we got involved in, as I said, my daughter had just been born, and I got involved with a group of people running a clinical trial on platelet-rich plasma down in San Diego. And discovered very quickly this was just not very effective, because you're taking blood and you're taking the red blood cells and you're injecting that into the ovaries, right? You spin it out. It's a vampire facial.
And then there's not as many growth factors or exosomes in
There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
No, nothing, very little. In fact, what you're doing is you're basically getting rid of all the interesting stuff, the PPP stuff, the platelet poor plasma. And that's the bit that we use. And PRP was that we put on, they thought the red blood was what gave you the strength. But actually, the growth factors that we take are actually in the other bit, quite right, the PPP. And we use those growth factors to signal your body to start itself again. So
you were doing PPP initially? Okay.
No, what we did is we took out, originally we were doing lots of anachronisms, that we took out the PRP was originally used, and they just threw away the PPP. We took that signaling system, which is in the bit they threw away, and realized, well, wait a minute, what is this signaling? Where is this going to signal? Who is it signaling?
Yeah.
We need some cells to signal. Okay, well, it's a bit like this. Let's take the building analogy again, okay? You got a building, and you've got the land, right? The land is, you have this building, you've got your foundation. You've got this building, and it needs to have some construction work done. Well, the growth factors, or the exosomes, as you call them, is the site foreman who tells everyone what to do. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. Well, okay, we got to fix the building. Well, where's the building materials to fix the building with?
Yeah.
So what we do is we take your own building materials, your own stem cells. Let's call them stem cells for the moment, right? You take your own stem cells and you put them there as a big block of equipment. So the foreman comes along, Mr. Exosome Foreman comes along and says, we got to fix this piece of the construction. Here's the material.
Yeah.
And we grab the material, right, and it's cladded up. Now, whatever that work is, let's just forget what that work is. So we said, well, where do we get this material? Where do we get these cells from? And of course, stem cells has a double-edged connotation. Not people aren't sure what it is. We have stem cells in our bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
What we took is something called multipotent cells, which are from bone marrow, right?
Okay.
Now, true stem cells, or what we call stem cells, are pluripotent cells, or many different types. So they're very undifferentiated. Now, there are some in that bone marrow.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to go into too much details in the area, but fundamentally, we've taken this material from your own body. We have then taken your signaling systems from your own body, but different signaling systems. If you take the signaling systems from your bone marrow, what it will do is just say, okay, put the bone marrow back to the bone marrow. That's not how it works. The body doesn't work that way. So we've taken a more agnostic
signaling
system, from the blood, exactly, which is agnostic. We mix them together in a special recipe that we worked out virtual to your ovary size and your body weight and we've done a series of checks beforehand, which we haven't gone into yet, which allows us to know, of course, which we know makes it work for you. And then we inject it back into your ovaries. It's the ovaries. Well, we do sometimes we also do the surrounding tissue as well, the uterus as well. And we based this study on, we've done it ourselves, obviously, but Professor Al Hendy at the University of Chicago and his team have a quite cutting edge.
And how long have you been doing this for?
This actual procedure since 2021.
Okay. 2021. And how many patients around have you done this procedure?
Throughout the whole system is about 132 at some... about 100, that is 132 going through some point of the process. So not everyone has done everything. Not everyone has to do everything. This is the whole point.
Yeah.
It's not about a one size fits all,
for sure,
sell you some product, right? It's not about that. Well, that's not what we're about. We're about you understanding yourself, knowing what your capabilities, your weaknesses and strengths are. And we help you plug those weaknesses or fix those weaknesses.
Yeah.
Some people have more weaknesses than others. It's just human.
Which areas too? So how long does this procedure take? Is it painful as well?
So the actual procedure itself that I just discussed is a 1-day outpatient procedure. It's about 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But it's all the stuff that goes beforehand and the stuff that goes afterwards, which is done, a lot of it's done remotely.
Okay.
And a
lot of blood work.
Emotional health, Freudenspanner, as we call it, exercise routines, diet plans, we have a full test that we do in the initial bit, which involves your DNA, involves blood work, gut biome, bone density, brain scan.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
This is but for instance, brain scans are primary.
We're doing the whole longevity protocol here.
Well, absolutely. That's what we are. We're longevity. That's what we're about. That's
well,
the 3 laws of longevity.
Focus on just one aspect. And and it's so important because like you're saying, it's personalization and also the whole body's connected. Nutrition, physical, mental, your brain, talking to your body talking, it's all connected. So a lot of people just want to focus on one thing, but really you have to focus on all of it.
And this is one of the strengths of what we do, but it's also one of our weaknesses from a commercial viewpoint, because medical companies or medicine's all about, let's get you a pill, let's fix you with, I'm not going to mention
one pill that's going to
solve everything, right? No. It doesn't work that way. What it is we say the third law, the body does not act in isolation.
Yeah.
Right. So say we take you. Right. And
like who's the optimal candidate then? And who would you maybe reject? And what age is this good for?
Right. Okay. So optimal candidates, anyone above the age of 35. We can do people younger. We have done people young, but that's usually have some genetic issues. It's different. But 35 to, ideally, you want to be looking at this from 35 to 45 would be the easiest, the easiest for us, not optimal, the easiest for us. 35 to 55 is our range that we can work with. We have worked with people into their 60s, but again, the longer you wait, there's a statistically high chance that we can't help you as easily. It's that simple, because it's much harder to fix something than to prevent something.
And when does menopause start for women?
Great question. The average age depends. It's actually significantly based around different types of races. So
interesting.
The average American white woman is 51 years old.
Okay.
Generally speaking, people from Southeast Asia and certain parts of sub-Saharan Africa, not all, go through it slightly younger. In that, it can be as early as 48, 49 on average. And those from, ironically, all the blue zone areas like Europe, Mediterranean, like Greece and Italy, Georgia and Russia, Japan and Korea, they tend to be slightly older at 52. So it's 48 to 52 is what it is, so, on average.
Yeah. And like this procedure, can it reverse menopause for these women?
We have had some results. There is a lady who's actually been on YouTube on a live podcast, one of our patients who's talked about this. I've been on it, but there's no editing. We had no way of editing it. It's on a live podcast. I can give you the link for that if you'd like.
Okay.
Yes, she had the procedure done now nearly a year ago. She is 59, I believe now, but she was 58 at the time.
59?
Now she is. She was 58 at the time. She was a year and a half menopausal. What has happened is subsequent to that, she had, of the last 12 months, she's had 4 months of periods or menstrual cycle. But again, that's not everything about menopause, okay? That just means that the lining of the uterus comes out every 28 days. But her hydration has really massively improved. Her mitochondrial function has improved by 87% aerobically, wow. 56% increase in glycolytic mitochondrial function, a 28% increase in estradiol or hormones.
What?
Right, yeah. Look, no issues with brain fog, no issues with sleeping through the night. The flip side that she discovered was that she had a lot more energy, like a more youthful vigor. So she became more of a risk taker again, which is quite interesting. But again, this is nearly a year since she had it done.
And now how often, since you've been doing this since 2021, have any of these patients come back and done the procedure? Right.
Great question. No, they haven't redone the procedure, but what we're trying to do now is do exosome boosters every year, which is a very quick procedure. It can be done locally, can be done in the United States. And they just get that done and it keeps boosting it as long as possible. So the question is, so far the results have been about an approximate, about 85% of the patients have seen significant improvements in 5 out of the 10 metrics that we do for menopausal longevity issues. We've had with these 10 metrics that we have. That's assuming women who are menopausal.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if women want to become pregnant? Is this something they can do?
Yes, there's something they can do, but that's not what we're about. Remember, we're just laying the foundations for you to do that.
Getting healthier.
Getting healthier. There is a massive increase in PCOS or premature or polycystic ovarian syndrome and premature ovarian failure. And that is in many ways because there's a number of reasons why. I mean, who knows? And actually, there's a real problem with male fertility too.
For sure. In fact, it's actually count has gone down like 50%,
even more now, and it's even worse than that. And we've been working with a specialist in male fertility, as well. But the long and the short is that this is an environmental issue, and also it's a combination. The environment has changed. We're having more
toxins
in the environment, and we can determine that's another conversation, but just take top line. And then what's happening is that we also have a different expectation level of where we are. when you were 40 back in the day, I don't know, 1700, you were done, right? It was over. But now it's like, I'm just getting going. I'm going to,
life is just starting.
Yeah, you've got boxing world champions who are in their 50s. I mean, Bernard Hopkins was 52 when he won. 52, and he was winning the he was a world championship boxer. That will become more commonplace.
Yeah, we're hoping because 150, longevity with all AI and all this information. Right. We have to find ways to extend our longevity with our brain and our physical body. Right. Yeah.
So in other words, so have we had so with women who have had like perimenopause functions, it's been very, very productive. It's just very easily, you can see improved levels of hormones, less stress.
Does this also affect their physical appearance?
Yes, but not everyone.
Okay.
Right. So
we all want to have baby skin.
Of course. Of course. So what it does do is it helps with the internal functions that improve hydration, blood flow, so your skin will glow, your hair gets thicker. Now, interestingly enough, the procedure that we use on ovaries can also be used on skin.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And it, because it's the same type of cell, similar type of cell.
Do you guys offer that, or
we do have a procedure we do only for existing patients.
Okay.
And we don't offer it just on its standalone yet, but it basically uses signaling systems into your skin, microneedling. It's not really very different if you go to a med spa, but it's just how we structure it. And because we've got all the background of, we know what you're about as a person. We know your brain scan issues, your body density, your skin type, so on and so forth. Yeah.
So for these stem cells, why did you choose the bone marrow? Do you do any donor-based stem cells? And because there's different, you can get stem cells from your fat, your blood, your bone marrow. So, and then of course there's the donor-based stem cells from an umbilical cord, placenta, a little combination of things. So why did you go this route? And also, is this done in the US?
Right. First question, why did we go that route? The first thing is, not all stem cells are created equal. Okay, number one. Yes. And what we often call stem cells are not stem cells. Okay, so the reason we chose bone marrow was that after the PRP thing that we looked at, we went for the strongest, most concentrated form of cells that differentiate. Let's call those stem cells. That's not what they are, but let's call them those for the moment. There was also some interesting research done which showed that in vitro in a petri dish you could differentiate these cells, but we're working in vivo in real life. So we chose what we thought was the strongest amount of undifferentiated cells that would allow us to give us the most chance of things working. That's why we chose those. The reason we choose your own cells is our theory is that that aging the way we age is not necessarily the natural course of events, i.e. there seems to be, in our opinion, some areas of aging that don't quite make sense. So fundamentally, your body knows how to do certain things. It just needs to be guided.
Reprogrammed.
Yeah, guided. I don't like the word reprogramming. I think more guided, gently suggested, right?
Okay.
Right? So we take your own stem cells. Now, there's no issues with donor. It's not like, realistically, we can extend functional, energetic adulthood by a significant number of years just by showing your cells how to structure that system. And that's why we use our own stem cells. We don't need someone else's stem cells for that. Right.
A lot of people are seeing a great benefit from stem cells, umbilical cords, because they're younger. So that's the whole thing, is that they're not functioning as well as you get older.
Right. Right. For a start, you're taking signaling systems, not stem cells, from the umbilical cords, right?
Okay.
So you're taking exosomes.
So there's no such thing as stem cells.
There is, but as I was saying, it's a very confusing term.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we're taking your own biological genetic material from your own body. Go back to the building site analogy, right?
Yeah.
And we got those materials. That we took the best quality stuff we could find, which is your bone marrow. Done.
Okay.
But because we discussed this earlier, we run a series of tests on you beforehand. So if you don't have any genetic issues about aging rapidly, then fundamentally, it's just that we need to show you how to use your own cells to max out your meaningful adulthood, say to them like 85, 90, with the physicality of a fit 40-year-old. That is feasible right now, right? So we don't need someone else's stem cells. And then there's the whole ethical, legal, biological issues of taking. It's a lot more risky, right? And it doesn't make sense. Unless you need to do it, it doesn't make sense. But
I think a lot of people have done their own stem cells. And there's also even expanding stem cells, replicating them to millions or billions of stem cells instead of just what they take. So then there's so many different ways stem cells go. But the whole thing of having an umbilical cord is like you're getting a newborn stem cells. Like, don't stem cells age?
Right. Okay. That I see what you mean. So, yes. I mean, obviously, I would recommend anyone who has a child that, keep their umbilical cord, keep their own blood, because it's useful. And even if you haven't done it, do it when you're 10, do it when you're 20, do it when you're 30. Doesn't matter. Whatever point, just store them and store it immediately because they do age. They do age. But it's interesting. They age, but also what happens is the concentration decreases because as certain cells die, the senescence of those stay there, so you're clogging it up. So
basically zombie cells that just damage.
But the reality is, at the age of 40, yes, you are old, but you're not like genetically unraveling that you say when you're 95 years old or 90 years old. So fundamentally, if you can keep the quality there that you have, we can extend the meaningful age. We're not going to make you 21. It's not going to happen, right?
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, but the thing is, you might look like you're 21, but you're not going to be 21 because your mind and your experience is not 21, and that changes everything.
Yeah,
that changes absolutely everything. What you want is the physicality of a fit 30, 40, whatever it is, fit person who's healthy and energetic.
Yeah,
and that's really what people want more than anything. What would you rather have? Perfectly young skin or the ability to walk? I know which one I would choose.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's that kind of concept. So fundamentally, we took your own cells because we're not pushing the boundaries of science such a crazy amount that we're trying to, make you into Iron Man or something. It's not going to be like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reality. And then the signaling system, this is the bit that's far more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we've taken your own signaling system, read amniotic fluid. This is what we're talking about, right? So we take your own signaling system and we put that with your own cells. That being said, we have looked at some people because they do not have because they have issues with premature ovarian failure or polycystic ovarian syndrome, on the assumption that these women have genetic predisposition to this. We've taken someone else's signaling system, and that has had a massive effect. And that was a research paper done by Professor Al-Hendi and his team in the University of Chicago, and there was a 60% increase in estradiol, and the follicles therefore improved. So we do have some patients that have done, or some candidates that have done allogenic or other signaling systems, but not stem cells.
Okay,
right?
More
big
exosomes.
Difference. Exosomes. Basically, go back to the site foreman telling you what to do. That's what it is. Okay. Now that's the first thing. So that's why we chose your own stem cells. Now, can this be done in the USA? At the moment, The actual procedure is only done in Mexico City,
Interesting.
right? Partly
because it is your own stem cells, so I feel you can do this in the US, right?
Yes, you can. And we're about to go, we're actually having the doctors, the surgeons in Mexico City are studying, or will be training. In fact, we're going to be in Phoenix 2 weeks from now, training surgeons how to do it here.
Oh, amazing.
Right?
So is this the only company that's doing this right now?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've heard, stem cells typically IVs, injections, and certain injuries or something, but I've never heard
not like this. Not in the North American continent. I think we're pretty much the only ones I know of.
Wow.
Originally, it came from Greece. I know I sound British, but I'm actually Greek. If you want, I can speak with the Greek accent. But anyway,
any excuse to go to Greece.
But we have that in Crete. It came from Sfakianotis in Crete with the PRP. So we use that delivery mechanism. So it can be done. So in the US, the reality is, though, that's the procedure bit. What we're doing is all the stuff beforehand is done via video call or in person if you're near one of our people in the US. So we have people in the West Coast, in Bay Area, we have people in Texas, and we have a couple of people soon to go live in Florida, which allow us to do those 3 areas, which covers as much as we can of the country.
How long does it take to recover from the procedure?
Physically?
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't feel anything after?
You go home that
no
night
pain?
to the hotel.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, is there a bit of pain? Well, you're under an anesthetic, obviously, for a period. So you have a little bit of air blow. So imagine like you're sort of it's a microlaparoscopy surgery. So it's a tiny cut like that, heals really quickly.
Oh my gosh. How much is the procedure around?
Varies on what area.
Yeah.
The initial analysis, which gives you your blueprint for the next 15 years of your life, is between $1,800 to $1,800 and $2,200 for the actual report and the blood work and the scans. The procedure itself, again, varies on what you need.
Yeah.
So it can be from as little as $15,000 to as much as $25,000. It averages around about $20,000.
Are you doing in the procedure while you're injecting, are you taking the stem cells from your bone marrow at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all done at once?
It's all live, yeah. There's no processing, there's no chemicals. It's done literally as you're there. We're taking out the bone marrow, we're then filtering it out right at that moment and then putting it back in. But the blood PPP was taken out a couple of weeks earlier and processed. We can do it the night before, and we do it the night before, but that means you're slightly dehydrated, and we want to have you as hydrated as possible. So we found that works easier to do it. And one of the things that we're looking at, and it's the first time it's going to be heard about, actually, so there you go, look at that, is that we're thinking of having the candidates come to a site in the United States, and we're going to actually extract their bone marrow and their blood at the same time, about 2 weeks, 3 or months before, and will therefore grow their own cells, and then we'll have it much more concentrated, and they literally just have that 1-day outpatient procedure done. But we've already prepared it beforehand. But it's all their own stuff. Absolutely.
So what is the results? Now you've done 130 patients.
Well, 132 people are through the process. So they're not all gone. They've not all done the full procedure.
Has everyone benefited from this procedure?
85% have seen significant improvements.
Wow.
Yeah. So the answer is yes.
Are you also working with the FDA, or is there a certain
interesting thing with this, the FDA is an interesting one. So when we have full, there is certain states have right to try, right? So Nevada, I think Florida does now.
Yeah. For stem cells.
Utah, you have the right to try. So we have our liability issues covered. The FDA can't tell you what they can and can't do. They can make your life awkward for you, but really it's about a labeling issue, right? So in other words, the doctors are able to do that. They have their insurance that covers them. They have to be happy that the procedure is safe, which they are, and it's proven. The protocol that we use is based on existing technology showing efficaciousness and safety.
Yeah.
So in it very clearly, the patient knows that this is, safe, right? So there are no issues with what we're doing. The real issue is whether people believe in it or not. That's the real issue, right?
Yeah.
And so the problem with that is you have to have more results. 4 years ago, we didn't have any results. Now, or 2022, when I first started talking about it, we didn't have many results. But now we have clear uptake, improvement of estradiol, improvement of, or E2, improvement of testosterone, improvement of mitochondrial function. And we constantly are testing and improving it. And so the other thing that we've discovered with some of our patients, and we haven't really talked about this part, which I think is really the most interesting bit, because this doesn't need any FDA, anything at all, right? We have what we call longevity fitness. So when you come to us, we do a full analysis test, that one we're talking about. You do the test. We check out your blood work, your DNA, and not 23andMe style DNA, but proper DNA style, right?
Yeah.
And then we have gut biome test. Now, I don't know if you know this, but your bacteria in your stomach can produce 60% of your serotonin in your body.
Yeah.
Hello?
I know.
That's not your body. That's a gut bacteria that's producing it.
The gut is everything.
Yeah.
It's so important.
And interestingly enough, when you look at ancient old wives' tales of many, many cultures, the Chinese say it's all in the stomach.
Yeah.
We say in the West, we have a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Hello? Where does that come from? Right?
Bacteria.
It's not just accidental. Yeah, exactly. So we look at these and we manage it. And what we've discovered with some patients, they've come to us with zero testosterone. And then by just changing their diet and some exercise routines that we've developed, their testosterone, and for men, yeah. But we just work with women right now. So what happens is we have the situation that their testosterone has gone up by 100%.
Wow.
And then we're like, well, they don't need to do the procedure. So, okay, you just spent $2,000 with us. That's it. Okay. And there you go. Bye. So when we say 132 people, it's some of them not actually, they don't need it. So that's the whole point.
So cool.
So, and I'm not saying that's the same with everyone. And at some point, and as we say, we're in the longevity game. We're here for the long term. We're not here just for in and out. We want you to come back to us, and we will work with you and help you and do what we can. And we grow the team. And we have people in the team who are professors of psychology. We have people in the team who are, existing like best Olympic coaches in the world. They won awards at the Olympics, being the best physical fitness coaches out there. And they've helped develop exercise routines for us.
Yeah.
They've helped develop psychological profiling to do the sort of Freudenspannner testing and implementation. Like, for instance, if you're OCD, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be really alphabetical about it, you'd be CDO. But anyway, so if you're OCD and you had something behind the screen all the time, I kept moving it around, it would annoy you.
Yeah.
And therefore you would have a cortisol response that would increase your cortisol response and have a physical reaction to it. These are small details that sound silly, but make a difference.
Yeah.
You know how how you used to know how to annoy your parents? Like small little details of how to wind your parents up because they would annoy you. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So these things are what we look at.
Yeah.
That doesn't require a stem cells. Yeah. It's basic.
What are your thoughts on hormone replacement therapy? And does this procedure, maybe people do not need that? If they're on testosterone, a lot of women now are getting on testosterone.
What happens to them when they're on testosterone?
They get more muscular and they have more energy and everything.
And their libido goes higher and all that stuff.
Yeah. Right? And so if you're increasing maybe their testosterone naturally with the reproductive organs and the hormones, have any of these women who have done the procedure maybe gone off of hormone replacement therapy?
The short answer, yes.
Wow.
Yes. In fact, almost all of them have, if they were on it before.
Okay,
but
I'm glad I asked that question.
But it's a small sample size, right? Remember,
yes.
When you say 100 people, that's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
We need thousands of people. We're going to be running, if we can, again, first time you're going to be hearing this, ironically, I'm putting it out there, trying to manifest this one. We're working with the university on the West Coast, on the western states, in Nevada actually, where we will run a clinical trial, part of the university with the medical school there, using the techniques that we've already learned with the procedures the Mexico City clinics are incredible. I mean, they're just absolutely fantastic. And if you go on to Elaine's podcast where she talks about it.
Oh,
she has a video of the things that and you'll see how amazing it looks.
oh wow.
And so we're now going to show these surgeons how to do it, and then we're running a clinical trial in probably in Nevada, where we want to have 200 or 300 women to run these techniques, to run it through, right? Because we need more data. We need much more data to improve it. We know it works.
Yeah.
We know we have increases in 87% increase in energy function, 28% increase in hormonal function. How does that affect the knock-on effect of your psychology? So we have these psychological tests that we do. How do you feel? And then you repeat them again a month later, and people change. And I feel great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm I like my husband again, or whatever it is, whatever. There's some interesting lines you get, right? And so, it's stuff like that. My kids don't annoy me so much, or whatever it is. So that's what we do. So yes, the answer is, but do I think HRT is a bad thing? No, of course not. It's a functional, it's more of a Band-Aid than a what we're doing is, well, again, natural is a funny word. It's more of a, when you get the endogenous, so you're produced from yourself, the endogenous hormones, yes, they are natural. You're right. They come from your body, so that your body knows what they are. There's no issues about there being fake, not chemical induced, right? Because from your body. So if you produce 30% of your hormones more from your body, that's only an advantage, right? And then having nothing from your body.
Yeah.
So what's what we found? So the answer is yes. So it does change. But again, not everyone, and it just depends on people. But,
So what is the future of Austin Biotech? I'm sure you're wanting to expand and get the word out as well, and help women feel their best at any age.
The future of Rejuvisite and our protocol is to get as many people into this procedure or program as possible. So the reason being is we want to be able to, we would love to be able to offer a second bite at adulthood, do it all over again, if you can, I have two children, right? And I'm not with a woman, but I have two children, and they're 16 years apart, 17 years apart.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's like I'm repeating it all over again. It's like Groundhog Day for me. I'm doing this all over again. And it's interesting to see that I have the energy I had in my 20s, now in my 50s.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid 50s now. So I have the energy to do that. But I have an experience in life which allows, in many ways, to do things better, right? Not always better, because we have, but generally we're just more experienced. So we want to be able to offer this to people, so you have a second bite, so you don't have to make that choice. Do you want to choose children or career? Can you have career first, then children then a career? Whatever it is, you have the tools at hand to give you that a fighting chance. We can't guarantee success for you. That's up to you. But we can at least give you the tools for success. We're teaching you to fish. So that's what we'd love to do. And that comes really, the initial bit is to get people into the report and get the testing done. That's the key. Once you've done that, then you can decide. Because what happens is, people come and they say, I've got to have all this stuff. And they say, here's 50 grand of stuff you got to do. And you're like, oh, I've got to do it because this is the latest thing. Well, frankly, that's bullshit. Sorry for my language, but it's like, it's more like, what is it? Who are you? What do you need? So we'd love to be able to offer that. So in the future for us, right now, would be sign up, do the testing and see where you land.
Mhm.
Maybe the likelihood is we can help you. But even if we don't need to help you now, you know that you've got that safety net coming down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe then
And the procedure before and doing all this testing will extend their longevity
by
in the
default,
long run.
by default, yeah.
And I think a lot of women, a lot of people now in 2026 are suffering from toxins and all these things happening in our society.
Yes.
And so I do believe in, I was just listening to a podcast with Mark Hyman about children, the obesity, what they expect for the rates of, I mean, it's starting at such a young age. And I think, and then it's affecting our reproductive organs, our whole longevity. So we really need to be doing all those things and looking at the gut, looking at the hormones, looking at everything, as well as this procedure so that we can live a good, healthy, long life.
Yes. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
We do the basics. Right?
It's
When it's
amazing.
not about getting that procedure, it's about
Yeah.
you knowing. And it isn't just, you're right, third law, the body does not act in isolation.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's like the gut. So for instance, when you go through menopause, or women go through menopause, your brain chemistry changes. So your brain scans change. We can do a CAT scan really quickly. It's non-invasive. And we can monitor things, and we can do testing for mitochondria.
Yeah.
With like certain ways. I mean, in really easy ways, just do it. Well, we actually work with MeScreen very closely, but MeScreen is something, they use something called an iron horse, which is it's a very comprehensive testing structure. And that's great, but the cost of doing that regularly is just too expensive. I'd love to be able to do it cheap, but they're great, MeScreen, but we can't do that on its own. We can do before and after, but we do tests throughout, like every 2 or 3 days, with like a little strip of a different type of testing that we use, which is just one marker, right? But because we've done the background already, we know that it's just it's a cheaper way of doing it. You just, otherwise it'll be thousands and thousands of dollars of testing, and there's nothing you can do about it. But also there's other ways of doing testing for energy levels, like doing a grip test. That's an energy level, right? It's cheap, it's free to do. So we do stuff like this, so we can monitor without going crazy, that stuff. So the future is really to get people to do the testing, to understand their basics. Yeah, we use MeScreen, like you said. We do other testing as well. We have a whole DNA platform where you control your own data. No one controls your data. It's all yours. Totally protected. In fact, very protected, actually, more so than any other organization and what we've designed. And the other thing about it as well is we can do this for men too. This we can do for men, right? But men don't have menopause. We have andropause, Guys think they're invincible. Yeah, man, I'm really tough. But actually, you're falling off a cliff at 18. You just don't know it,
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm in perfect
health.
I'm
perfect. Yeah, well, really, mate? Okay, whatever. But yeah, it's like that. So it's like, so yeah, that's what we do. So that's what we'd say for the future. And obviously I'll give you the links and everything.
Yeah. So where can everyone find?
And they can
and how do they book this?
How do they book it? And if they come through you, we'll give them a special,
Biohacker Blondie discount.
There you go.
Get some extra exosomes.
Get something, buy one, get one. I don't know. We'll work something out, but we'll offer something, obviously. But it's like, that's what we do. Yeah. So that's the future. And obviously we want to sort of look at, you make an interesting point about the toxins. And there are many toxins in the world, right?
So many.
But the basic stuff you can change is don't drink sodas. Simple. Really simple. Don't eat processed food. Really simple. I mean, and it can be done. It's achievable. It can be
life-changing for people.
Life-changing.
It affects your mental state, your emotional state, your whole, I'm shocked at like the percentage of people who have thought ultra-processed food is food. It's insane where we are now. When you look at an Oreo or some of these things and you think that's food, I'm just like, You don't want to get me started, but
No. This is
insane.
you're speaking my language, absolutely on this. And the thing is, absolutely, it's because look, we call it make a virtue out of a necessity. Look, you've got to eat,
Yeah.
so learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And then enjoy the process of cooking with the family, with the kids. You know, with my daughter.
Food.
Yeah, real food. We make cream cakes for breakfast sometimes, but it's real food.
Yeah,
it's real fresh food, not processed. Fresh
fillers
cream
and additives and weird chemicals.
Yes,
it's
weird
insane.
chemicals, and they're in many ways so bad. I mean, without going into politics, one thing I will say is that RFK Jr. The one thing he has done, which I really agree with, is he inverted the food pyramid.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant. And in many ways, that one process.
Yeah.
If you can do one thing, is just eat well, exercise. Well, more than one thing. 3 things: eat well, exercise, and get some decent sleep.
Yeah.
And that, if you could just do those 3 things, that would be worth.
You'll improve your
just
health
a little bit,
so much. Yeah.
And that's what we're about. So by doing the testing with us, we often help you see things, because I think we need coaching.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
Like, I have a coach when I need something to improve something. I because we have the power of self-delusion.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're about.
So where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find us on austinbiotech.com with a link, which is our website. You can just schedule a consult or talk to us. I think it says on the button, talk to us.
Okay.
And you can book a consult. We have 3 initial consultants that you can speak to. I'm one of them. But then we put you through to obviously one of our doctors after that. But we find out what you can and can't do, and then we get you onto see what we can do to help you. The initial call is like, just call us and we find out, and we just have a chat and we tell you how it is, and then you can go into the next thing. So you can find us on the website.
Okay.
We do have an Instagram page, Austin Biotech.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Should I tag you guys?
You probably should tag us. You probably should.
Okay.
I think we have a YouTube channel too. We should probably tag us on that too, I think.
Okay.
You can see this is not my strong point here.
We got to promote.
Yeah, we got to start promoting. But that's what we want to do. And we want to, and really, again, it's about helping you take control of your health on your terms, and you will see how much you can do by yourself.
Yeah.
That's really important.
It's been my journey. It's been going down this rabbit hole, and the best thing is that I feel better and better the healthier I get and the happier I get by improving my health. So
on that question, I want to ask you a question then.
Yes.
So you feel happier about
1,000%.
So what is it you think that made you feel happier?
I don't know if it's less inflammation. I feel more emotional. Like in my 20s, I wasn't the healthiest. And
oh, really? What did you do?
I mean, you're just I wasn't biohacking. I always worked out and did these things, but there was I kind of grew up on processed food. I feel like it was that time where a lot of processed food was becoming popular. And I just feel emotionally, you're not stable. Your emotions are all out of, and then, it's amazing to see the healthier you become. Like, I just feel way more positive. I think energy is a big one. I'm really big on, if your energy improves, you are a better person in every way, because you have the energy to do the things you love, you're more energetic and more positive around everyone you're around with. And so you just become a more positive, happier person. And I know even I'm almost on Brian Johnson's level, where he's eats. And I mean, he says that, where he was almost on depression, in depression, and how he's never been happier. And so when people tell me, they will eat these things because it gives them that fulfillment for 5 minutes, I'm thinking I don't want anything to take away my happiness. It's the health is my happiness.
So that's a very interesting point. And do you think that your happiness comes from? I'm asking you some questions now because I'm curious. Actually, if is that okay? Can I do that? Do you mind? Okay. So when you say happiness, do you think that happiness comes from your willpower, or do you think it comes from your habits? Do you think it comes from? What do you think it comes from? Where do you think it comes? I think
it comes from my neurotransmitters working correctly.
And how do you do that?
Well, I think I've optimized my mitochondria.
How?
I do a lot of precursors for NAD, and I do a lot of supplements. I've done my deficiencies, done my DNA testing. I figured out kind of what works for me.
We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah. So like I've just really improved my health, and I just think your body can function better. All the, more energy, physical energy, I feel like I can do my workouts more, like my muscles better, just everything starts functioning better, and I think also everyone's running around with inflammation. That's inflammation in the brain, that's inflammation in your body, and it just disrupts everything. So the less inflammation you have in your body, I think the happier you become as well.
Right. So do you have a system you implement, or is it more of a drug routine, or a supplement routine?
I basically stay away from as many toxins as I can. That's a big one.
Right.
I focus on gut health. I
Right.
focus, on supplementation. I think blood work is super important to do that yearly or every 6 months to figure out if you have deficiencies. Because if you have one deficiency,
Every 3 months,
that can screw up everything.
Yeah.
Like if you have no iodine, which a lot of people are probably deficient in because we're not eating iodized salt anymore. That affects your thyroid, that affects your energy, that affects your metabolism. So like blood work, I'm such an advocate for, because that can be life-changing to figure out just a deficiency that could be affecting your overall health. And then, and I do the basics, but I also filter water. I filter my shower. I filter my sinks. Like I wish we didn't have to be so crazy about these things, but it's 2026 where chemicals and food and everything is
it's very interesting you say that. I mean, water filtration, you don't filter out the hormones, but they're anyway, but that's no point. But yeah, but there are some, but when we went to Europe last year, and we were there for 3 months because for family reasons, and I noticed, the first thing my daughter said was, "My God, the food's great in Greece. It's amazing."
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
And it is really good because it's all natural, right? Because everything's
there's a conference and I want to go back in 2 months just for the food.
Where is that really? Yeah. It's great, right? The food's great. And what happened was I went home to Crete, it's an island in Greece, and where my family are, and I started to get depressed because I literally was, even though I try and eat healthily here, whether we like it or not, it's much harder because of the hidden things. And I was literally, my gut biome was changing, and I was literally feeling almost, I mean, I wouldn't say suicidal, but really hit me.
Yeah.
And for 3 days, I was really like down. I mean, I knew what it was. Yeah. And that's the weird thing. Even knowing what it was still was like, I was despondent. And I'm on the beach in Greece. I'm seeing my family. I'm hanging with my cousins. And I'm like, so we don't realize how important diet is. We don't appreciate how important regular exercise is, movement, like hip opening exercises from like yoga. Everyone goes, oh, is it namaste? What it really does is it reduces cortisol levels. It improves calming effects. That's why yoga is so successful. That's why martial arts are so successful. Yeah. That's why certain exercises are so successful. You have to do it. You have to accept we have a body that needs to move.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of people are not moving
and they don't move. Or when they do move, they go to the gym and pump loads of iron, or they do crazy stuff, but not steady state.
Yeah.
And that's really crucial.
Yeah.
And when you look at the long livers, I can actually say from a sort of authority, because I have family from Ikaria, funnily enough. So weirdly enough, so I can say that there are 5 constant things with long livers. They have regular, moderate exercise, generally a plant-based, but with meat. It's not vegetarian, plant-based diet. Social, exactly. Believing in something greater than themselves, and purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so they're all the same, whether it's Costa Rica, whether it's even the ones that are not officially part of the blue zones and whatever, they're all the same. They have that sense of community. And I think we tend to forget that. in the modern world. And we're really guilty of it, especially in our world where we're
Today.
siloed in cars and online and doing this. You know, I'd much rather do this in person than doing it like remotely.
It's
I was
so
like,
great in person. It's so much better.
You know, so much better.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm sure we could talk forever.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this. So thank you so much.